Zara stood in the cold metal chamber, trying hard not to let her hands shake. 20 other females waited beside her, their glowing skin pulsing with soft blue and green light. Their lights moved like tiny waves under their skin. Beautiful, bright, pure. Zara looked at her own arms. Her lights were weak and yellow, almost fading. No one looked at her. No one ever did. The selection ceremony was about to begin. This was her third and final chance. If no male chose her today, she would be removed from her people forever. The heavy door slid open with a deep metallic roar. 20 Velani males walked in together. Tall, strong. Their skin glowed with sharp, bright colors. Their lights were full of power, the kind needed to save their dying species. Zara's people were falling apart. Their home planet had been poisoned decades ago. Their children were born sick. Their future was slipping away. Only the strongest pairs were allowed to mate now. The first male stopped in front of a female named Nara, whose silver lights sparkled like stars. "I choose you," he said, placing his hand on her shoulder. More males followed. They chose the tallest females, the brightest ones, the ones whose lights shimmered proudly. No one even glanced at Zara. She tried to brighten her lights, the way doctors said she should, but they stayed dim. She hated that she had no control over them. A male with golden lights paused in front of her. Her heart jumped. Maybe this time. He looked at her for a long moment. Then his lights dimmed slightly, and he moved past her without a word. One by one, the other females were taken away. The room grew emptier, quieter, colder. 3 remained, then 2, then only Zara. The last male stood at the door. He glanced at her, expression unreadable. Then he simply turned and walked out. No words, no apology, nothing. Zara stood alone in the center of the silent room. The door opened again, and Elder Thane entered. His lights had turned fully white with age. He looked at Zara with tired, sad eyes. "Zarani," he said softly, "this was your third selection." "Yes, Elder," she whispered. "You know what this means." Zara nodded. She knew the rule. 3 chances. If no one chose her, she could leave forever, or stay and work as a servant for the rest of her life. "I am sorry, child," Elder Thane said gently. "You are kind. You are intelligent. But our people need strong children. The doctors believe you cannot give us that." Zara wanted to scream that they were wrong. She had seen old books, old data. She had proof. But she knew no one would listen. "I understand," she said instead. "You have 1 day to choose," the elder said. "Leave us, or stay as a servant." He walked away slowly, leaving her alone again. Zara stepped out of the cold chamber and wandered into the main hallways of Kepler Station. It was her first time outside the Velani area. The station was full of strange beings from many worlds. Insects with crystal shells, tall furry shapes, creatures with too many arms. Zara pulled her robe tight. She walked toward a large glass wall and froze. Outside, endless stars. Ships drifting like sparks in the dark. For a moment, she felt less than a speck. Then a voice behind her said, "Excuse me, are you all right?" Zara turned. A human stood there, pink skin, messy hair, clothes dirty from work. He held a box of tools. She had seen humans only in old images. "I am fine," she said in broken human language. "You sure?" he asked kindly. "You look upset." "I'm Jake. I fix things around here." "Zara," she said softly. Jake smiled, a warm, simple human smile. The first smile anyone had given her in a very long time. And in that small moment, her whole future began to change. Zara wandered the human areas of Kepler Station long after Jake left. His kindness stayed in her mind like a warm light she didn't understand. He knew nothing about her failures, yet he spoke to her as if she mattered, as if she wasn't broken. She kept replaying his smile. Why was a human, of all beings, the first person to treat her like an equal? The next morning, she was supposed to give Elder Thane her answer. Leave forever, or stay as a servant. But she couldn't decide. Instead, she walked deeper into the human section. She stayed hidden behind corners, watching how humans behaved. They moved with noise and laughter. They touched each other's shoulders. They argued loudly, then laughed again as if nothing happened. They were messy, chaotic, emotional, but they were alive. So different from the silent, perfect, cold order of her own people. She saw Jake again, working on a broken air filter with 2 others, a red-haired woman and a tall man with dark skin. They joked as they worked, teasing Jake whenever he dropped a tool. When Jake made a mistake, they didn't shame him. They didn't turn their lights dim in disappointment. They simply helped. "Try it this way," the woman said. "Good idea," Jake replied. Zara watched, confused. Her people believed humans were simple, weak. Yet these humans were patient, clever, and willing to fail to learn. Who was wrong? Her people, or everyone she ever trusted? She spent 3 days observing them from a distance, memorizing their faces, their voices. The red-haired woman was Amy Rodriguez, a doctor. The tall man was Ben Walker, a researcher. And the strong human woman who led them all was Commander Lisa Hayes. These humans were nothing like the stories she'd been told. On the 4th day, disaster hit the Velani area. The lights flickered. The air began to smell sharp and toxic. Engineers panicked. "The system is failing," one shouted. "We need new parts. It will take weeks. We have 2 days before the air turns poisonous." Zara felt fear hit her chest like a hammer. 2 days. Her people would die in 2 days. But then she remembered Jake's words. "We always figure it out. Maybe humans could help. Even if the Velani believed humans were beneath them, maybe they would still try." Zara ran toward the human sector, her robe flowing behind her. She found Jake working on a console and stopped in front of him, out of breath. "Jake," she said, voice shaking. "My people, the air system, it is breaking. Can humans help?" Jake froze. His smile faded, replaced by focused concern. "That sounds serious," he said. "Let me get Amy and Ben." Soon, the 3 humans gathered around her, calm but alert. Amy asked technical questions. Ben asked about the station environment. Jake listened carefully, eyes sharp. "We can try," Jake said. "But your people might not let us touch their tech." "They must," Zara said, gripping his sleeve. "Or we will all die." Jake nodded once, the kind of nod humans gave when they decided they wouldn't let anyone die today. Commander Hayes called Elder Thane over the system. At first, Elder Thane refused. Humans were too primitive, too simple, too different. But as the air worsened, as breathing grew painful, he finally agreed. Zara guided the humans through the Velani halls. The engineers stared as Jake, Amy, and Ben entered their sacred machinery room. "Show us," Jake said firmly. The Velani hesitated, then led the humans to the failing systems. Jake leaned over the glowing interface, studying it with quick eyes. Amy collected air samples. Ben mapped out the entire airflow system. After a long hour, Jake whispered, "I think I've got it." He explained something impossible to the Velani. Their machines were perfect, but only for their home planet. Kepler Station's air was different. The system was overworking itself to death. Amy confirmed the chemical differences. Ben suggested adjustments. Jake rewrote the settings. Slowly, the air smell softened. The lights steadied. The machines hummed properly again. The Velani stared in silence. "How did you do this?" their lead engineer asked. Jake shrugged. Sometimes simple ideas fix complex problems. For the first time in her life, Zara saw hope. Humans had just saved the Velani, something her own brilliant people couldn't do. And something inside Zara whispered loudly. Maybe everything she believed about humans was wrong. That night, Zara lay awake in her small room, unable to calm her racing thoughts. The air in the Velani district was fresh again, the machines humming quietly like they were supposed to. Her people were alive because humans stepped in when no one else could. But Zara's mind was stuck on one face. Jake. He wasn't like the Velani males who looked at her with judgment. He wasn't like the doctors who saw her as a failure on a chart. He wasn't like the elders who dismissed her curiosity. He listened. He cared. He respected her. And for someone who had spent her whole life being ignored, that meant more than she could explain. She stared at her dim lights flickering across her skin. Tomorrow she had to choose. Leave forever, or become a silent servant. Neither option felt like living. Then she remembered Jake's kindness. His calm voice in the chaos. The way he looked at her like she wasn't invisible. Maybe there is a third path, she thought. The next morning, instead of reporting to Elder Thane, Zara walked toward the human sector again. She stayed in the shadows, watching how humans worked, moved, interacted. They laughed openly. They argued loudly. They expressed emotions with faces and hands, not silent lights. Zara found herself studying them as if they were a missing piece she never knew she needed. Jake worked with Amy and Ben again, repairing more equipment. When he made a mistake, he laughed at himself. When Amy teased him, he didn't get offended. When Ben disagreed, they argued, then solved the problem together. Her people never argued. They obeyed. They stayed silent. They let rules decide everything. Maybe this is why humans survive everything, Zara thought. Because they are not afraid to be different. 3 days passed like this, with Zara quietly observing. She memorized the humans' names, their habits, their strengths, their flaws, and each day, her decision became clearer. Then disaster struck again, far worse this time. The Velani district's air quality suddenly plunged to dangerous levels. Alarms blared. Lights flashed red. Screams echoed through the halls. Engineers panicked, unable to understand why the system was failing again so soon. Elder Thane shouted for repairs, but no one knew what to do. We do not have the parts. It is collapsing too fast. The air will turn toxic within 2 days. Zara's heart pounded. She knew what she had to do. Without hesitation, she ran to the human sector. She burst into the workshop where Jake was repairing a console. "Jake," she said urgently, "it is happening again. Worse. My people, they will die." Jake's face hardened into determination instantly. "All right," he said. "Let's move." Amy and Ben joined them. Zara explained everything as fast as she could. Amy asked about biofilters. Ben asked about ventilation links. Jake listened quietly, planning, calculating. "We can try to help," Jake said, "but your people may not let us near their systems again." "They must," Zara said, "or this time, no one will survive." Jake didn't waste another second. He went straight to Commander Hayes, who opened a channel to Elder Thane. At first, Elder Thane refused again. He said humans were too simple, too emotional, too different. But as the air quality dropped sharply, he finally gave in. Zara led Jake, Amy, and Ben through the Velani gates. The engineers glared at the humans like they were intruders. Jake stepped forward, fearless. "Show us everything," he said. This time, the humans worked faster, quicker, smarter. Amy analyzed the toxic particles. Ben found the failing airflow routes. Jake hacked into the main system, adjusting thousands of settings manually. Velani engineers watched, stunned. They had always believed humans were weaker, simpler, primitive. But here they were, adapting instantly, solving a crisis with a mix of logic, creativity, and sheer stubborn determination. Within hours, the air was safe again. The Velani stared at Jake like he had performed a miracle. "You saved us twice," Elder Thane whispered. "Why would humans help us?" Jake looked at Zara. "Because someone asked," he said simply. Zara felt her lights glow softly, brighter than they had in years. In that moment, she understood something powerful. Humans weren't strong because of their technology. Humans were strong because of their hearts. And she knew, without any doubt now, her path was no longer with the Velani. Her future was tied to Jake. Zara spent that night sitting alone in the dim light of her room, listening to the quiet hum of the repaired air system. She should have felt relieved. Her people were safe again. But her mind kept drifting to the human who made it possible. Jake Morrison, his steady voice, his quick thinking, his warm smile, his way of treating her like a normal person, not a mistake. No Velani male had ever spoken to her the way he did. No one had ever truly looked at her. She lay awake until the station lights shifted to morning mode. And as she watched the artificial sunrise glow through the windows, she knew she couldn't ignore the truth anymore. Jake made her feel seen. He made her feel alive. He made her feel like she mattered. And for the first time since her first failed selection ceremony, she actually believed she deserved something more. So she went to find him. She found Jake in the observation deck, the quiet place where humans went to breathe after long shifts. He was sitting on a bench, eating some kind of human food from a small container and staring out at the drifting stars. He looked peaceful, unaware that his life was about to change. When Zara stepped forward, he turned immediately. "Hey, Zara," he said with that familiar smile. "Want to sit?" She sat beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. They watched the ships move in the darkness. Stars glimmered like tiny fires in the glass. Jake waited patiently, as he always did. Zara took a deep breath. The words trembled on her tongue. "Jake," she said softly, "I want to ask you something." "Sure," Jake said. "What's on your mind?" Zara's lights flickered nervously. She had practiced these words for hours in her room, in the empty hallways, even whispering them to the glass windows. Now she had to say them out loud. "Will you be my husband?" Jake froze. His food container slipped from his hands and crashed loudly on the floor. Several humans turned to look. A couple of aliens paused mid-step. A tech worker dropped a datapad. No one in the station had ever heard such words spoken by a Velani to a human. "What?" Jake said, eyes wide. Zara tried again, louder this time. "Will you be my husband?" Silence filled the room. Every head turned toward them. Zara felt the weight of hundreds of shocked eyes. Velani females did not choose mates. They were chosen or rejected. Asking a human was beyond unthinkable. Jake looked stunned. Not disgusted, not mocking, just stunned. "Zara," he said carefully, "why are you asking me this?" Zara swallowed. Her lights dimmed and brightened as she spoke. "Because no male from my people wants me, and because you see me differently. You listen to me. You treat me as if I have worth. I feel safe with you. I feel alive." Jake ran a hand through his hair, struggling to process everything. "But Zara, we're different species," he said. "Is that even possible?" "I don't know," Zara admitted. "But I want to try. With you." People around them held their breath, waiting for Jake's answer. He opened his mouth, closed it, then finally said, "I need time to think about this." Zara nodded slowly. "I understand. Take whatever time you need." As she walked away, whispers exploded through the deck. Shocked voices, angry mutters, surprised gasps. By the time she reached the Velani district, everyone already seemed to know. Elder Thane stood waiting for her with a face full of disappointment and fear. "What have you done?" he demanded. "I only asked a question," Zara replied quietly. "You have brought shame to our entire species." Elder Thane snapped. "Humans are animals. They are beneath us. They saved us," Zara said, stepping forward. "Twice. They dared to help when no one else could." "That is different," the elder shouted. "Asking one to be your mate is an insult to our traditions." But while her elder raged, one thing filled Zara with quiet strength. Jake hadn't laughed. He hadn't recoiled. He hadn't treated her like she was insane. He was thinking, truly thinking. Maybe, just maybe, he was considering her. For the first time in her life, Zara realized something powerful. She wasn't broken. She wasn't useless. She wasn't unworthy. She was simply different. And different might be exactly what the future needed. The next day, Jake couldn't work. Everywhere he went, people stared at him like he was carrying a bomb. Some humans whispered jokes. Some looked nervous. Velani stared at him with open hatred, their lights flashing harsh colors. Commander Hayes finally called him to her office. "Sit," she said. Her tone was firm, but not angry. Jake sat, rubbing the back of his neck. "I know it's a mess, Commander." "Mistake or not," she said, crossing her arms. "You've started something that's making half the station nervous. The Velani Council is furious. They want Zara punished." "That's not fair," Jake said. "She didn't hurt anyone." "Doesn't matter," Lisa replied. "They claim you're trying to corrupt their people. They want humans restricted from their sector." Jake felt anger rising. "We just saved their lives, twice." Lisa nodded. "And they thank you by blaming you. Welcome to diplomacy." She leaned forward. "Jake, what do you think of Zara?" "Honestly." Jake hesitated, then spoke softly. "She's smart. She's brave. And she came to us for help when her own people rejected her. I respect her." "And marriage?" Commander Hayes asked. Jake exhaled. "I don't know yet. But I won't just walk away." Lisa gave a slow nod. "Then be ready. This is bigger than you now." While Jake faced human leadership, Zara faced her own nightmare. Krell, one of the strongest Velani males, chosen in the first ceremony, stormed into her room. His golden lights burned with anger. "You disgrace us," he snarled. "How dare you ask a human to be your mate?" Zara straightened. "Humans are not what you think. They have no lights," Krell spat. "They cannot speak with their minds. They are weak, short-lived creatures. They are nothing." "Maybe that is what makes them strong," Zara replied calmly. "They fight for every day. They try even when they fail." Krell's lights flashed red, Velani anger. "You speak madness. Our bloodlines are pure." "Too pure," Zara said. "That is why our children are sick. We need change." Krell raised a hand as if to strike her. But the door slid open and Elder Thane stepped in. "Enough," the old man commanded. "Krell, leave us." Krell glared at Zara before storming out. Elder Thane motioned for Zara to follow him. He led her to his private chamber, walls covered with old images of the Velani home world. Forest oceans, a sky that no longer existed. "Sit," he said quietly. Zara obeyed. Tell me, he said. Tell me why you did this. Zara took a deep breath. Because I want to live. And I want our people to survive. Explain, the elder said. Zara told him everything. About the old medical books she secretly read, the ancient research showing their ancestors once had more diversity, the proof that mixing bloodlines made children stronger, not weaker. Our purity is killing us, she said. And humans have the diversity we lost. Elder Thane looked troubled. You are not a doctor. No, Zara said. But I can read. And I can see the truth. Before the elder could respond, the door opened again. It was Amy Rodriguez, the human doctor, with a tablet in her hands. Forgive me, she said in careful Velani language. But I have information. Elder Thane blinked in surprise. Few humans spoke his language. What do you want, human? He asked. I study genetics, Amy said. And I analyze samples from both our species. The results are clear. She turned the tablet to show charts and numbers. If a Velani and a human had children, those children could be healthier than either parent. Stronger, more adaptable, more resistant to disease. Elder Thane stared at her. Impossible. Unusual, Amy agreed. But very possible. On Earth, we call it hybrid vigor. Zara's heart raced. She wasn't crazy. She wasn't imagining it. There was science behind her hope. Amy continued. If your species wants to survive, you may need humans. Elder Thane looked shaken for the first time. Maybe the galaxy wasn't ending. Maybe it was changing. That evening, Jake finally found Zara again in the observation deck. She stood alone, watching distant stars, her lights dim but steady. I've been thinking, Jake said gently. Zara turned. And, she whispered. I want to know more, Jake said. About your people. About what this would mean. About what we would mean. Zara's lights brightened softly. It would mean building a bridge between our worlds. It would mean trying something no one has tried before. Jake held her gaze. Would you be happy? He asked. Not for duty. Not for your people. But for you. No one had ever asked her that. Zara blinked hard. I think I would be. With you. Jake smiled slowly. Then let's do this right, he said. We take our time. We learn each other's customs. We fight for this together. And if both sides say no, he shrugged. We humans are good at finding another way. For the first time, Zara felt something she had never truly felt before. Hope. But in the shadows behind them, Krell watched with burning rage. And this time, he wasn't going to stay quiet. 2 weeks passed, and the quiet tension on Kepler Station grew heavier each day. Jake and Zara kept meeting in hidden corners, learning each other's languages, cultures, and habits. Zara taught Jake how Velani emotions glowed through skin patterns. Jake taught Zara how humans use tone, touch, and expression instead of lights. For a little while, it felt like things might work. But deep under that fragile peace, trouble was rising. The first arrival, Earth Fleet. A massive Earth Fleet ship docked without warning. Its hull gleamed with military symbols. Soldiers stepped out in formation. Admiral Steve Carter marched forward with a cold, commanding presence. Commander Hayes met him, confused. We weren't expecting you, Admiral. Emergency orders, Carter said sharply. I hear one of your engineers is trying to marry an alien. Lisa's jaw tightened. Jake Morrison is a civilian. He has a right. Not when it threatens interspecies security, Carter snapped. I am here to stop this, by any means necessary. Humans nearby froze. Some looked afraid. Some looked angry. Jake didn't even know the Admiral had arrived. The second arrival, Velani High Council. Only an hour later, an even larger ship arrived. Velani symbols covered its sides. 50 Velani guards marched out with glowing spears. Council member Vex Velthani, powerful, merciless, stepped forward. Elder Thane bowed uneasily. Honored Vex. Why have you come? Vex's lights flashed with cold fury. A Velani female asked a human to be her mate. She will return home for correction. If she resists, she will be taken by force. The words spread like wildfire. Some Velani cheered. Others looked horrified. Zara stood in the middle of a storm she never meant to create. A quiet kind of happiness. Before the collapse, Jake and Zara met in secret again. They sat close, learning word by word, glow by glow, what it meant to love someone different. When you're happy, Jake said softly, your lights move like dancing gold. And you, Zara replied, show happiness with your face. Humans shine in their own way. For a moment, everything felt safe. Then Dr. Nina Chun called them urgently to the lab. I have news, she said seriously. Both good and bad. Jake tensed. Tell us. The good news. Human, Velani children are possible. In fact, they could be remarkably strong. Zara's lights brightened with hope. The bad news, Dr. Chen continued, is that pregnancy might be dangerous for Zara. Human babies grow faster than Velani ones. Her body might struggle. Zara didn't flinch. I am willing to take the risk. Jake shook his head instantly. I'm not willing to lose you. They argued, softly, urgently, both afraid, both stubborn, both trying to protect the other. But Jake stopped first. This has to be your choice, he said gently. Not mine. Not your people's. Yours. Zara stared at him, stunned. No one had ever given her full choice before. The spark that ignites everything. Before they could decide anything, alarms blared across the station. Security breach. Armed forces in conflict. All personnel proceed with caution. Jake and Zara ran into the main corridor and froze. Human soldiers and Velani guards stood face to face, weapons drawn. In the middle stood Admiral Carter and Council Member Vex, shouting over each other. The human will not marry the Velani female. The female will not disgrace her species. Amy, Ben, Dr. Chun, dozens of humans, rushed forward to stand with Jake. You can't stop them, Amy shouted. They have the right to choose. Ben added. A group of young Velani stepped forward too, led by Nara, a female with dim lights like Zara's. We want to live, Nara said. If humans can help us survive, we support Zara. Two crowds now. Two sides. On the edge of violence. Then Krell pushed through the Velani crowd, eyes burning. This human contaminates our blood, he screamed. I will end this myself. He pulled out a weapon. Jake froze, unable to move fast enough. A flash. A blast of energy. A sharp cry. Zara jumped in front of him. The energy bolt struck her chest. She fell. Jake caught her before she hit the ground. Her lights flickered weakly under her skin, dimming, fading. No, no. Zara, stay with me, Jake cried. Amy and Dr. Chun rushed to help. She's alive, Amy said, but barely. Krell stared in shock at what he'd done. The entire station went silent. Jake held Zara's hand as she whispered weakly. Do not let them stop us. Promise me. Tears blurred Jake's vision. I promise. Zara was rushed away to medical. And as the doors shut, the fragile piece of Kepler station shattered. Now, Jake wasn't just part of the conflict. He was the center of it. The moment Zara was carried into the medical bay, Jake stayed outside the doors, refusing to leave. His hands were shaking. His clothes were stained with her blood. Every second felt like an hour. Then Elder Thane, shaken and pale, stepped forward holding an old book, one Jake had never seen before. I have been reading our oldest laws, the elder said quietly. There is something written by our founders, something forgotten. Admiral Carter and Council Member Vex glared at him. What law? Vex demanded. The right of genetic necessity, Elder Thane said, voice trembling. If our species is dying, and survival requires mixing with another species, then our traditions must bend. That law is ancient. Vex roared. It does not apply now. A new voice echoed through the corridor. It applies if we say it applies. Everyone turned. Healer Senna Velthani, the oldest, wisest healer of their entire species, stood at the entrance, supported by two assistants. Her lights glowed soft and steady. I have watched our children die, Senna said. I have seen generations weaken. If humans offer even a chance to save us, only a fool rejects it. Admiral Carter crossed his arms. This is touching, but Earth Fleet has orders. This union ends. Now, a calm voice cut through the tension. Then arrest me too. Captain Bennett stepped forward, standing beside Jake. I support this union, Bennett said. It represents hope. And humanity does not crush hope. Then Amy stepped forward. Then Dr. Chun. Then Ben. Then dozens of humans. Then, shockingly, several young Velani, including Nara. We choose a future, Nara said softly. Not fear. Two sides. Two futures. One moment to decide. Jake stepped forward, voice strong despite the pain in his eyes. Admiral. Council Member Vex. He looked at both leaders. Are you really going to start a war because two people care about each other? You don't understand diplomacy, Carter snapped. Jake squared his shoulders. Then make it simple. Give us 1 year. The hall fell silent. 1 year, Jake repeated. Let Zara and me try. If it fails, you can forbid all future unions. But if it succeeds, if hybrid children are healthy and strong, then you must support peace between our species. Vex scoffed. 1 year? Humans are impatient creatures. Jake nodded. Exactly. We get things done fast. Healer Senna raised her voice. I approve this test. Captain Bennett added. So do I. Carter and Vex exchanged tense looks. They were outnumbered, not by weapons, but by will. Finally, Carter spoke. 1 year. But if anything threatens Earth's security, it ends. Agreed, Vex muttered. Jake didn't wait for more. He ran to the medical bay. Zara survives. Zara opened her eyes hours later. Her lights were weak, but steady. Did I miss anything? She whispered. Jake laughed through tears. Just me challenging 2 governments. Zara managed a small smile. Of course you did. 6 months later, a wedding that changed history. The Grand Hall of Kepler Station was decorated with flowers from a dozen worlds. Humans sat beside aliens. Velani sat beside humans. Zara wore a dress woven with fibers that amplified her natural lights. Jake wore a suit with Velani patterns sewn into the sleeves. Healer Senna performed the ceremony. Today, she said, 2 people choose a bond that once seemed impossible. Together, they choose hope. When Jake and Zara kissed, her lights burst into gold and silver, shining brighter than they ever had. The station erupted in cheers. A new era had begun. 8 months later, Luna's birth. The pregnancy was hard. Zara spent months under constant care. Jake stayed by her side every day. When the baby was finally born, the entire station held its breath. Luna was perfect. She had Zara's large eyes, Jake's brown hair, and light patterns glowing softly under her skin. She was stronger than human babies, healthier than Velani babies. A true bridge between worlds. She's beautiful, Jake whispered. She is hope, Zara said. Races from across the galaxy came to study her. Luna could speak with her voice and with light, and even share emotions through touch. She wasn't half of anything. She was something new. Years later, a galaxy changed forever. Hybrid children grew strong. More unions formed. Humans and Velani cooperated on science, culture, and new colonies. Jake became director of interspecies engineering. Zara became a genetic counselor, helping others start families across species. One day, on Luna's 2nd birthday, the family stood in the observation deck. Do you ever regret it? Zara asked softly. Jake shook his head. Not for a second. Luna pressed her tiny hands to the glass, her skin glowing brightly. Star's pretty, she said. Then she flashed a pattern meaning hope. Captain Bennett's voice came over the station speakers. The Galactic Council has approved the first interspecies colony. Volunteers welcome. Jake took Zara's hand. Want to help build a new world? With you, she said. Always. Luna laughed and ran ahead, her lights swirling like a newborn star. Zara's first question, the one everyone feared, had reshaped the galaxy. And it all started with the courage to ask, will you be my husband?